So welcome everyone. Thanks for coming today. I really appreciate it. My name is Scott Rouse, the head of customer success here at FileWave. We've met before on some of these events, and thrilled to be here with you again today. As always, our customers and your satisfaction, your experience is of utmost importance to us. And these events are an occasion for us to share some information that we've got in the product that's upcoming, answer questions that get shared out there, and generally have a discussion and recognize you for all of your support and welcome you into the family. So let's take a look at the agenda, which I think is on the next slide. I won't read through everything, but as usual, we'll go through some of the exciting features in releases that we've got, and point out some special things, and then talk about what's coming up next, what's coming up in the future, and if we have time at the end, we'll end with our Ask FileWave Anything, where we can answer questions for me. So if you have questions, I think you may have submitted some of those already, but save those up for us, and if we get to extra ones, we'll jump in there. I think I'll turn it over to Tony at this point and have him work forward.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining our fellow FileWavers on this wonderful forenoon or afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. For those of you who are under 50, forenoon means morning. We thank you for joining us here in our little bookstore in Seattle. Actually, we're in different locations. Josh is in Pennsylvania. I'm in Ohio. Scott's somewhere way out west. We're all over the place, right? FileWave is a global organization, and we're happy to be so, and glad you could all join. You're going to look like this little kid by the end of today, because we've got some great stuff to share with you. Josh and I will be presenting kind of the changes that are going on with FileWave. We'll be talking about what things are going on now, what's going on in the near future, and what's going on in the further future. So there's a lot of F's on this page: FileWave, future, etc., features, and all that. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. So first thing we want to mention, obviously, as Scott mentioned, the Ask FileWave Anything is a very popular event that we do towards the end of this event each time. And we've had a lot of requests for being able to talk to our product owners, and our product owners have been requesting of me that we could talk to you. So we're doing a new series of events on Discord starting tomorrow, actually, at 10 a.m. Eastern. I guess that's 4 p.m. CET. For the what we're calling a PO lounge, a time for you to come and ask, if there's anything we don't cover today, if you have other questions about product, if you have questions about roadmap, or boy, we'd like to see this in the product. Our product owners, P and Regal and Isla, will both be there, as well as myself, and probably some of our designers too. So we'll be doing that every month on the second Wednesday. PN, do you want to say a word or two?
Try to make myself. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Yeah, I mean, that would be a great opportunity for you and us to discuss, to share, to discuss about the product, about what you love about FileWave, about what you hate and you would like us to change and to make better, to make your life easier. So, yeah, just join and let's have this chat tomorrow.
Yeah, we figured that it'd give us more of an opportunity to talk a little deeper and stuff without the pressure of the event and all the other things we've got to cover. So we look forward to doing that monthly going forward, and we'll keep it running as long as people show up. So we're looking forward to that. Josh, how do folks get to this if they don't know how to get to this?
The easiest way is probably if you just go to the knowledge base and search for Discord, or if you just go to go.filewave.com/Discord. Either way, there is an article that talks about joining Discord. There's a simple link. Discord's a chat system if you haven't used it. The knowledge base has a little video on getting started with Discord. But it's a great environment where we can start up discussions anytime, and you can speak with other customers.
All right, awesome. So that starts tomorrow, and again, second Wednesday of each month. Lots of other events going on too. There's open office hours from Josh and his team, etc. So check out our calendar on filewave.com. Yes. And over to you, Josh. Talk about where we are today.
Yeah, so 15 15.4 has been out for a little bit, right? But we've had a couple of updates to it, and 15.4.2 was the most recent, which was just on August 27th. So it'd be important, you know, when we had our last Alliance event, 15.4, I believe, was the future version, and 15.3 was the current. So the bullet points here, I tried to just point out the most important things to think about. If you're not on 15.4, you likely want to be. I would say if you have Windows systems, the changes that we've done to the Windows client update file set are a reason that you'd want to be. If you do Windows imaging, we updated and overhauled the kernel that's used to boot up, so it supports new hardware like the Intel Core Ultra laptops. We had a lot of customers that had newer Intel systems that weren't so happy with the kernel that was in 15.4, but in 15.4.2, it's all taken care of, and we have a much more streamlined process to update that. So I feel like we'll be pretty on top of that as well. When you go to do large purchases of new devices, I just want to mention, Derek will probably mention this too, but reach out to us. If you're about to buy, 5,000 new HP whatevers, and you're going to do Windows imaging with FileWave, you might want to get one device and just make sure everything works great, or reach out to us, and we could work with you to make sure that that it can work out well. It's much easier to do it before you get the machines in, like before. A lot of you are at K through 12 or higher ed, before the school year, before you're in a rush. Just reach out to us. We want to help you. So, whether that's a support ticket, that might be the easiest way to let us know, and we'll figure out working with you to test things and resolve any issues. WinGet was added. So Microsoft WinGet, really cool way to search for applications and just make a file set really easily. We started to do the work around DDM and Apple software updates, and fix the long-running issue of Mac OS in particular was problematic, but iPads too. So all that work. And Chromebooks. If you manage Chromebooks, you have to be on 15.4 because the APIs changed, and that was Google killing off some old APIs. So if you're pre-15.4 and you have Chromebooks, then you can't do things like TeamViewer sessions or execute a verify. You definitely want to update. And there's a knowledge base article about the 2 new APIs to enable, and you definitely want to do that. But it's a really great release, and I think it touches on most of the platforms. And although it's not mentioned here, 15.4.2, I've tested it with Android 15 beta, and I was able to do a BYOD enrollment just fine. And I've been testing with betas of iOS 18 and Sequoia. So a lot of good stuff if you're on 15.4.2. 15.4.2 also, we do security updates. So 15.4.2 specifically got this Apache update, but I'll say that I believe 15.4.1 was also an Apache security update and an OpenSSL security update. So another good reason to be on 15.4.2 because you want to protect your system. If you're a hosted customer, then we took care of that, and you should be updated unless you've worked out some kind of delay because you had some business reason. But otherwise, you should be on 15.4.2 if you're hosted. And there's
Josh, can I just chime in there real quick on that topic? We do occasionally get questions from time to time about why you can't independently update these solutions. We embed the solutions with the application, and we go through with our own QA process to make sure that everything's working, so that we don't allow an update to happen that actually would break FileWave. So that's why we release these security updates with FileWave. So please bear with us as we go through that process, because things like Apache and OpenSSL, they change all the time. It's very frequent.
And I'll say that there are a lot of cases where there are security updates for functions that we do not use. So they are non-impactful to us. And that goes into the evaluation internally about how critical something is. Clearly, if something's high risk and impacts us, we're going to put a release out pretty quickly. So And there's one more thing, which you guys should like, I hope you should like, is that we got ISO 27001 certification. So if you don't know what that means, it may not seem important, but it is. It means that we have processes in place for things like disaster recovery and security and encryption and how we mark documents, categorize them, the processes that we do for development and to secure development, and pretty much everything from physical facilities to software development to policies about onboarding people. There's a lot of processes, and this was a pretty complex thing that Valeri, our VP of engineering, he worked really hard on this, and so we have that, and we will continue to have this. So hopefully that helps. Some of you may know of this. Maybe your cyber security insurance asks questions like this, like, is the software you're using, is the vendor ISO 27001 certified? And so the answer would be yes now. And so Derek.
Hey everybody. For those that don't know me, I'm Derek Deckard. I'm the head of support here at FileWave. Josh already touched a couple of these, but I just wanted to go back through them pretty quickly. The key point to note with these two changes is they are in 15.4.2. So if you just have 15.4, 15.4.1, and if you're having issues with either one of these and you reach out to support, the first thing that they're going to ask you to do is upgrade to the latest. We're not being a jerk at this, just trying to push you off. It's the actual changes are in those versions. Hopefully good things to come now with all the things that we've done to the Windows client. There's also a bunch of new logs that we have in place. We've removed some Windows systems that we were we were using to help with the process, that if they failed, we couldn't recover from it. So we've kind of moved away from that, and a lot more PowerShell scripting is going on. So in theory, things are getting a lot better with the Windows client upgrade. Obviously, if you're on this version and you're having any sort of issues, please reach out to my teams. I kind of want to touch on that point. I see lots of tickets come in from time to time where customers get frustrated because they've been dealing with an issue for, a few days, weeks, or, to me, that's too long, right? Like if you're dealing with an issue and it's taking you a couple hours and you can't get through it, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to help you guys get through what's going on so you can move back on with your regular day. Kind of what Josh was talking about with the new Windows hardware. This happens every year. Those of you that do know me, I've been here forever. Every year we have a customer reach out, say, I just bought 100 new Windows devices and I can't image them. As Josh said, go ahead and reach out to us ahead of time. Say I got a test device, it's not working, or I'm going to be getting a test device. Let us know the model number. Sometimes we can get one. Sometimes we ask you guys to actually send us one. We had a couple customers help us out this summer to get it where it is today, right? They sent us a couple of devices so we could test in-house and get everything where it needed to be. As always, even if you're not sure who to reach out to, the easiest thing to remember is, help.filewave.com or help@filewave.com. Say you want to talk to, licensing, you need to increase how many devices that you're working with, those sort of things. That's a separate team. But if you don't know who to contact with that, feel free to reach out to us. We'll ping them internally. We can hand over tickets. We can also share the information of who you could contact directly if you need to. But if anything, if you're stuck, just need some help, just poke us. That's what we're here for. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. And one thing, one correction that Tony and I don't think we told you is, and in the release notes we mentioned about PowerShell, but then we undid the PowerShell.
Okay.
We've been taking the approach, right, that complexity is not good, right? The simplest thing should be the most functional thing. So we ripped out the Windows service that was being used originally. We did some PowerShell to calculate a date, I believe it was, and then ultimately we didn't even need that, and we believe it's the most simple it could be, but we'll probably continue to look at ways that it could be simplified, because the less complexity.
And I'll mention on both of these topics that we're only able to improve both of these because folks did reach out and had an issue, and we worked in the production environments. I can't say how helpful that is to us. I can't say it enough how helpful that is, that we're actually looking at environments and seeing what's happening, because that research enabled us to see that, hey, sometimes the WMI service is not working on Windows, and our process is relying upon that. So what happens if that's broken, right? We can't control that. That's a Windows service. So, please reach out. We're happy to work with you on any kind of issue.
Yeah.
And related to that, Josh, if you want to go to the next slide, and you may think this is a little Windows heavy, but believe me, we're going to get to some Mac and iPad and Apple stuff here in a bit too. To support environments that are heavy Windows, the Windows client can break. The upgrade process for Windows is more complicated than on the Mac side of things. We basically have to shut down our service to upgrade our service, and it uses scheduled tasks to do so. And then it runs an MSI, and the MSI itself might have some issues. So if you find that in your environment you've had an issue with a device, or you just want to check devices on your network to see if they're not talking to FileWave and should be, we've developed a new tool. There's a QR code for it here it's published in the knowledge base already. Been using it in some production environments to basically sweep environments to look for devices that are offline. Are they really offline? Are they online? Is the client broken? Is it misconfigured? Is the certificate wrong? So this tool is meant to help you recover, first to identify, and second to recover any devices that you may be having trouble with. So take a look at that if you get a chance.
Yeah, and Andrew put the link in the chat. Thank you, Andrew. And
Thank you.
the QR codes, I'm assuming you see these everywhere in the world now, and you can just use your phone, your camera to see the link as well. So, and I saw in the chat, yeah, this network sweeper is written to check on Windows systems. So this one's targeted. It's not really a feature, it's more just a tool that we published, and we could think about ways on the Mac, although Macs have very little, by default, there's nothing really exposed that you could scan except to validate that there's maybe an agent on there, assuming the port was open. So doing the same thing on Mac OS would be a little bit harder.
Although the first step of doing that is kind of the identification of just devices that are online that are not showing as online in FileWave. That part for sure we could do, right? So on the Mac side, we can export a list of devices from within FileWave and then attempt to ping them to see if they're, is it at least there if your environment supports pinging. So we can do at least something there, but the remediation tools, this is largely using PowerShell and Windows Batch and PSExec as well. So and as PN mentioned, reinstallation of the client over MDM is also a great way to remediate, and that's a tool that we don't have on the Windows side. So anyway, go check this out if you've got a heavy Windows environment. What's coming after this, Josh?
Content packs. So we talked about this last time, but there's more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we talked about content packs last time. And again, content packs, this is kind of, we covered this last time as well, but content packs are a way of stitching all the great flexible nature of FileWave together between custom fields and groups and smart groups and reports and file set groups and associations and deployments and dashboards, a way of stitching complicated stuff together to make really elegant solutions. And we have been working quite diligently on publishing new content. We've got a new FileWave Windows Client Health tool that was published and also announced with 15.4.2. And as of just this morning, actually, Josh, I think we posted our TeamViewer Health Pack as well, our TeamViewer Content Pack, correct?
Yes, and the TeamViewer one, not only does it have a dashboard, just like the Windows Client Health does, but it also has the file sets to deploy for Android, Mac OS, and Windows. iOS, I believe it couldn't programmatically create the file set, but it really sets you up to be able to deploy TeamViewer, and the dashboard lets you see the versions of TeamViewer out there, who's set to like be able to be controlled through TeamViewer. It's a really nice dashboard, and the client health one is super nice too. It shows you all sorts of things that could be wrong, or just the status of things.
Let's take a look at that dashboard, Josh.
Okay.
So this is an actual live dashboard. In the next slide, I think, has the video on it.
That's true.
Right, so this dashboard that we've built is based, this one for the Windows Health one, it's based on a series of custom fields, right? And what's really nice about that is you don't have to define them. They'll be imported, a list of like 20 different reports. And then on top of that, a dashboard, which is really the end goal of this one, is to have an easy place to go look when you're managing Windows devices of what's going on. So this is a live dashboard in a customer's environment where we're looking at, well, not live, it's recorded, but where we're looking at how many Windows devices they have. What issues do we have? These things you see in red at the top, these are problems. WMI is broken, MSI exec stuff stuck, PowerShell has got an issue, Windows Update has a problem. And so we can report on issues, but then we can just report on the general overall health. So we can see in this environment, lots of devices have connected within the last 30 days. We can look at how they're configured to talk to boosters. We can look at what version of the FileWave client is on those devices. How many upgrades were done even by day, if you do some interesting things with custom fields. And all of the data aggregation that you're seeing here is actually quite simple to do, but we stitch it all together for you and give it to you so that you can use it as it is out of the box. But you can also take this same content, look at the way it's built, and then build your own, right? Make new charts, make new things. So lots of information in here, looking at patch levels for these devices, and then just thinking creatively about how we can report on things in the environment. And each one of these, you can then granularly look at the data that's behind it. So in this view, looking at devices, I can see, well, there's one device out there that's missing 13 patches, but the rest, look fairly healthy. We've also included Windows UBR scoring in there as well, for those of you who are familiar with that. We can look at the overall flavors of Windows in an environment. See, in this environment, it's mostly Windows 11 23H2. And then we can see the devices are AD joined. We can look at specific installations of software. And this isn't, this example happens to be Windows specific, but the same thing could be done for Apple devices as well. And we'll be following it up, I think, with a similar dashboard for Mac and perhaps for iOS as well. So you can pick to look for individual applications in the environment. And then this particular environment also does geolocation. So we can look at what devices are tracked versus untracked, which of those that are tracked have actually sent data, which have not. And then even include a map with all of the devices, so we can really see those outlier devices. And why is it an environment that's in Tennessee? Is there a device in Maine, for instance, right? So we can take that data, publish it all in kind of an aggregate form, and then really do some great stuff with it. If you have not done any of this with the dashboard, you really want to take a look. And these are all easily imported. You just run a little import tool, brings everything into your environment, custom fields, reports, dashboard, etc. And as soon as those custom fields start to build, your dashboard will populate.
Yeah, the map's real nice. You might even take the map example and make a dashboard that's just a large map.
Yep.
And over the years, I've worked with a lot of schools where, let's say it's a school district in Massachusetts, and they see a whole bunch of devices that are for some reason in China or some other random place. But they don't have an abroad program, and nobody's supposed to take the devices. And so the devices are either stolen, or they were supposed to be end of life. They weren't wiped out. They're still calling in, which means they still might have student data on them potentially, or teacher data, which could be a problem. So the map can be very helpful. And I believe the map on this dashboard is tied to just the Windows devices, right? It's not all devices on the map because it's a Windows dashboard, right?
That's correct. The reports are built in this case to show, yeah. So you can, that's the beauty of these dashboards, is you can define them however you want. So the reports for this are all specifically Windows, but you could, replicate all of those reports and then set one up for Mac and set one up for iPad, etc.
Yeah, and hopefully we should have this all. It'll seem a bit Windows heavy, the things that we've done around this 15.4.2 release, but it's because we've been working specifically in customer environments where there were problems, and this was part of discovering all the problems. So that is the case.
But I will say, if you're in an environment that's heavy Mac and you'd like the same kind of treatment, please reach out to myself or Josh, and we can make arrangements to try to help in your environment, see what kind of great content we can build there too.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. What do we got next, Josh?
15.5.
All right. Well, this is what everybody tunes in for, of course, is what's coming next, right? We already talked about what we already have, but all of you were saying, wait, we already have that. I don't care about the list. Why are you talking about 15.4? Let's talk about what's next. And what's next is 15.5. It's expected to release late September, more likely early October. It's in the hands of our QA folks. Now, what's in this release? It's a heck of a list. It was so much of a pleasure to put this together, and I'm really happy to be able to cover it here. Of course, there's support for Sequoia and iOS 18, as well as other, fall release MDM changes. And I don't want to undersell that. Every summer is absolute frantic city here for PN and the team of developers to try to catch up with everything that Apple's doing. That's all included in this release, and it's a ton of work. But we've also done some other new stuff that we're going to kind of dig into a couple of things. We've changed the whole new file set dialog. We've actually gotten our designers involved with our kind of classic admin tool, which is paying real dividends for us as we're able to do things in a little more elegant fashion because we've been adding new stuff. We added Wing It, as Josh mentioned before. We're adding auto PKG in version 15.5. It's automatically integrated. You don't have to set up anything. Of course, we've worked with auto PKG for a long time, but you had to go through the effort of setting things up. It's now included. We've got signed profiles in FileWave 15.5, addition of the Acme profile that we didn't have in there before. We're also adding end user notifications. I'm going to show you an example of that in a moment. We've added a new IDP, specifically Keycloak. We've done a whole bunch of just miscellaneous profile cleanup and minor additions for anything that we found missing in a few profiles within Central and Anywhere. We've added a new inventory field that is last changed. For those of you who are aware, the last connected field that's in inventory tells you when a device last sent inventory in. However, it doesn't tell you if some custom field changed that wasn't coming from the client. So for instance, if you've got a custom field for what department a device is in and it changes from department A to department B, then this field will be changed so that you get an idea if you're doing API calls that you can call that and say, hey, show me anything that changed in the last day. We've made some minor kiosk improvements based on feedback from your environment. We'll show an example here in a moment, but we've also added DDM assets and configurations. We'll show that in a moment. And then some of my favorites are down here at the bottom. We've moved the Qt libraries that we use for our classic tools over to Qt6. That allows us to do more web integration. It's a better platform in general. It's more up to date. But that also has allowed us to go ahead and move the Windows client, admin, and booster to 64-bit, and we've done DLL isolation there because for the longest time it's been such a nuisance that you go and install your new client and then your admin breaks because of the new DLLs and they were shared and they're not the right version. No longer, from 15.5 moving forward, the client, the admin, the booster are all 64-bit with isolated DLLs for each, so you will not have that problem any longer. We've also got Android 15 support, including lost mode support for Android devices. And last but not least, related to some of the dashboard stuff we were talking about before, we've updated our plugin that's in Grafana to React, so you'll no longer get the deprecation warning in there. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. Can you go to the next slide there, Josh?
Sure. And I should mention, although Android 15 and Sequoia and iOS 18 are, maybe coming out before this releases, I'm running all three of those things on 15.4.2. Not that it's supported, but it works. Like I've got systems running these versions.
And they are identified correctly. You just see them as
you do see Sequoia listed. Because of the timing of 15.4.2, some of those changes were able to be put in.
Okay, so On the DDM assets and configuration side, and also auto PKG, Josh, you want to go ahead and launch this, and I'll just kind of talk through this little demo. So this is 15.5, and you'll see this simplified UI within the file sets view. So you don't have all those buttons at the top anymore. And if you click on new file set here, you're going to see it's a new look to this. Rather than having a kind of grid layout, it's broken up by just general file sets, Apple specific types of file sets, Windows and Google. So here in the general side, you can see you've got file set magic. You can import things. You can do software update that covers kind of all platforms. On the Apple side, you can see you've got your classic profiles, but we've also got then DDM assets and DDM configurations. DDM assets are kind of configs for the configs, if you want to think of them like that. We'll be adding more of those in future. We've got Mac OS file sets in here as well as iOS. On the Microsoft side, we've got MSIs and Wingit, of course, and then dealing with Windows imaging in here. And then lastly, on the Google side, we've got, I don't happen to have that set up in my environment, but we've got Android stuff. On the Apple side, if we come back to talk about DDM assets and DDM configuration, we can click on either one of those and go ahead and create. And it's going to look very similar to what you're used to on the profile editor side, because it's roughly the same kind of topic from a UI perspective. So it looks very similar here. So we've got these assets are basically configurations for configurations. So if you're going to use certain authentication across multiple DDM configurations, you can build that as an asset that then is used by those configurations. Right. And if we do a configuration here, I think we'll see the same basic thing, that it looks very similar to what we have in the profile editor. And these are the ones that we've included now with 15.5. More will be included with 15.6, but we'll talk about that a little later. Right. And I think that's pretty much it on this one, Josh. If you skip forward just a little bit, let's talk about right there. Let's talk about auto PKG. So you may notice here in the Apple list, is that playing, Josh?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. That you can pick auto PKG as a file set type. Right. And you can ignore me clicking on create file set here for 10 seconds as I remember, oops, I need to search for the thing first. Right. So here on the top right, you can just search for any application. I think I just do just kind of a generic search to look for anything here. So this is going to look very similar to what we did on the Wingit side, and also very similar to what was done previously for App Store stuff. But you do a search for whatever it is you want to install, right? And you click create, and that's it. So there's our installer for CyberDuck. It's included. You can modify properties like you would for any file set. We're working, I think, on doing some feeding of kiosk information to this, some of the metadata, etc. That's not included necessarily in auto PKG. I think we're still talking about doing that. So we might have an icon or some more descriptive text with it, but we can create anything that's included. I will mention that in the dialog here at the bottom, you'll notice that there's a disclaimer that says, hey, these are not our packages, same as with Wingit. These are coming from third parties. This is open source, of course. Anything that we get from here is, you're going to want to test it and make sure that it's, what you want. But it is a pretty well vetted and long-term solution in auto PKG. So that is directly included in version 15.5. And as I said, that's likely to be here at the end of the month, or more likely early in October.
And I'll mention a cool thing is that it'll handle versions as well, whereas auto PKG is more, whereas WinGet is more about just sending whatever the current is. In WinGet, in auto PKG, it picks up that there's a new version as well. And if you've ever used auto PKG, you don't have to install auto PKG. We're handling that. Like I guess admin makes a request of servers of ours that are running auto PKG, and we handle everything. So you don't pick what repo, you don't pick anything. You just search for the thing, pick the thing, it makes the file set. It's very simple.
Everybody's been dead clear that they'd like everything to be super simple. So that's how this is built, is to be super simple. Yeah, Pian.
Maybe just a small note on AutoPKG. One of the very nice things with AutoPKG is that everybody can create its own repositories with recipes about apps and anything. One disadvantage is that you have to sign and you have to run AutoPKG, and most of the time, if you want apps to be installed properly, you have to sign them. So we are doing the job for you. So we are hosting AutoPKG somewhere, we are building the packages, and we are signing them, which means that we are, even if we are not responsible about what you install, we still have to look at what will be done by our server before we sign it. So this is why for now we have selected a few recipes, so repositories. And if you have a list of good repositories and you really want these ones to be hosted by FileWave and managed by FileWave, just reach out. We'll have a look. We'll see if they are as good as you say, and we trust you. And then we can add them easily. So don't be afraid if the first time you try, you don't see all recipes ever. That's because we have a curated list and we can expand that list over the time.
Cool. Okay, so I'll go on to the next.
Yeah, let's go on to the next thing. And we're also happy to introduce another new feature. So not only do we add AutoPKG this time, but we've got what we're calling end user notifications. Super happy with this. Isla, I know she's out there. I know she's technically on vacation, but she's on the list of folks dialed in here today. She and her team, they call themselves Grumpy. Grumpy has worked on adding end user notifications within version 15.5. It's supported on Mac OS, iOS, Chrome, and Windows devices. And you can basically send messages to devices. Now, it's not a chat system. It's not meant to be that. It's also not meant to be private. It's not sending something to an individual person. It's just sending something to the devices. Let's take a look at how this works. So go ahead and kick that off there, Josh. So this is version 15.5. I've got my iPad plugged in there, the QuickTime, so we can see it. And in the background here, we've got a virtual Mac that's in my environment. I've got them in this little group, and you can see each of the devices in there. And although that's a little blurry, at least for me, you can see that there's no ability to send a notification here. And the reason that I can't do that is because there's a new preference for sending notification. In Manage Administrators, you can go in and set that down here. You'll see there's a new permission for send user notification. Once that is applied, it's actually pretty simple to send a notification. You can send it to individual devices or a group of devices. In this case, I'm choosing the group. We can choose to send notification. You can say who the author of the notification is, who it's coming from. So in this case, I'm putting in my name. We can give a title. So in this case, I'm saying there's a fire drill today, right? And then some follow-up text for that. Remember, there's a fire drill today at 11 a.m. And so this can be meant for all sorts of different messaging. Hey, we noticed a problem with your workstation. You should reboot it, right? You can also include a link to a landing page, right? So in this case, I'm going to just send it to filewave.com. But you can have kind of a read more link, which is what I actually set this to on this particular notification. When you send that, it's sending a push notification to these devices and then leveraging the native OS of the device to show that notification. So however the device handles notification, so in this case, the iPad handles it like any other iOS notification, that goes ahead and shows it here. Then it's a part of the FileWave kiosk to show that notification with the read more link that I can click on and go to the website. Same thing on the Mac OS side. I'll see it now. This one had multiple notifications already sent, so it's sitting under the kind of notifications header there. But we can click on that and see the same thing. So that device is dinged at me like they do. And we get the same message and the same read more. I've shown Mac and iOS here, same thing for Chrome and for Windows. Not yet on Android. Right? So another new feature, and we hope that this is useful for you in your environments, but a great way to reach out to either devices en masse or individual devices.
Somebody asked what happens if no one's logged into the Mac when it's sent. It may be the same as if it was off, right? Upon logging in, there was a date. You didn't mention the date when you were creating the notification. There was like a date that it was in effect until.
Oh yeah, there's an expiration date for expiring a message so that it won't show later, because you don't want a message that was, hey, can you reboot your machine today, and then it's tomorrow, and then they don't want to reboot it twice. And I see Isla now. I'm gonna call her out on this, right? Because I use her documentation in our internal documentation that did not list Android, so I didn't put it here. But evidently, she says that Android is good now too, which is great news.
So that means everything.
That does. It means everything.
Right? I guess Apple TV. I don't know if tvOS would get them.
We'll
see if
there's no kiosk. There's no kiosk, so no,
right.
Not for that. The question about what happens with the Mac, I don't know.
Oh, if nobody was in, the notification wouldn't be expired.
We're going to end up having to pay her. She's supposed to be on vacation, but she's like, I ain't answering work questions. So, of course, she's been on vacation for like a month and a half. So it's all right that she's doing a little bit of work. So anyway, that's new and in 15.5 as well. So there is a ton jam-packed into 15.5, and we're super excited about releasing it, as I said, probably early in October. Okay. All right, let's move along there, Josh.
So back to me. So this is more just informational. This will probably be the last time we show this whole slide. But everybody knows, hopefully, that CentOS as an operating system has been dead since, what was it, the end of June? So yeah, June 30th. And we've said that we're not publishing on CentOS. Some people may have seen and figured out that even though we don't have it on the download page, 15.4.1 and 2, for instance, you could get it from our repository if you knew the URL. But that will be coming to an end. I mean, ultimately, we're going to remove the things that builds for CentOS because the OS is dead. And at this point, 100% of hosted customers are migrated. We handled that. And about half of on-premise CentOS servers have migrated. There's still about half remaining. But every day I speak with customers who are working on migrating. So, I'd say if you were running 15.4.2, right, and you have a fully patched on CentOS system, the FileWave services are really the things that are exposed. So you don't really have like such extreme risk, but if you're running CentOS, you're on an OS that doesn't get security updates for the OS itself. And if we're not publishing new versions of FileWave, then you're going to start to see vulnerabilities appear in Apache and OpenSSL. It'll become more and more risky. So if you do have CentOS for your server, really think about if you want to get to Debian, if you want to become hosted, and we can help you.
Well, not to mention, of course, that if you don't upgrade, you don't get all the new stuff that we just talked about.
That is true.
So there's that part as well. All right. What's coming after 15.5, Josh?
15.6.
All right. Well, let's talk about that. All right. So when it comes to anything that we're working on, I do want to just remind everybody that we have a publicly available roadmap, and the roadmap itself is good and fine. But what I really appreciate about it is there's also just a portal for submitting anything you want. Hey, I'd really like it if FileWave did this, that, or the other. So I noticed there was a message there in the chat about notifications on installation. Now, we have that listed on the roadmap specifically for kiosk, and we hope to do that at some point soon. We don't have it scheduled yet, but you can submit any idea you have for anything at the links that you see here in the knowledge base. You do have to be logged in, however. We don't publish that without being authenticated into the knowledge base. It's the one place you must be logged in. And I will mention as well, while we're on that topic, that if you're logged in to the knowledge base, you can also leave comments on articles and such. So if you think something's wrong, or if you think, hey, this could be improved, or wouldn't it be great if, whether it comes to the product or to, just content that's in the knowledge base, please give us feedback. We love to have it as a thing that allows us to build for the future. But 15.6 is in planning now. So this will likely be a release near the end of the year, right at the beginning of the new year. The Apple DDM implementation of DDM configuration and assets will continue. If you want, is there something in particular you're looking for there? Please do add it to the suggestions portal. We do see that. Just because it doesn't get published on the roadmap, don't think that nobody's reading it. I'm reading them. Isla's reading them. PN's reading them. And again, I'll mention the Discord event tomorrow. If you just want to come and talk about the stuff that you'd like to see on the roadmap, please come to those Discord events. We'd love to see you there.
We'll also have. I'm sorry, I was going to just add that on the Discord event, you can share your screen. So like if you want to explain like in depth a particular thing that you're looking for and you really want to make sure we understand, then you could come there and be able to show us things there in that environment. We don't record those or publish those, so it's a pretty safe environment to be sharing and discussing things.
As well as those additional configurations and assets for DDM. We'll also be working on anything that's kind of left over from fall release. We really find that every year there's something that comes out a little later with documentation, and the way that it works with Apple isn't quite the way that we had to figure it out. And so there's always cleanup required after the big Apple fall release. So there'll be some changes and such there. And we're also looking at performance. So earlier, I kind of challenged our team earlier this quarter and said, hey, if we look at the areas in which we've had the most issues from a support perspective, where we get the most tickets, it was related to, you may say, why are we talking about Windows stuff? Well, it was because we got a lot of tickets related to Windows client upgrade issues. So we really focused on that. And we really focused on the Windows imaging thing. But the third thing, the kind of trifecta that we're looking at now is boosters. So we're looking at boosters very heavily now on performance. If you suspect that you're having a problem with boosters and you'd like us to look at your environment, see what's going on, please do reach out, because I'm looking for somebody to work with us on that so we can kind of improve logging and improve performance of boosters. They do critical work, and we want to make that part of the product stronger. So please do reach out and say that you're interested. So we'll be looking at that, and we're also looking at a possible new option for file delivery that will be more economical and looking for better delivery of files to devices. The two other things that we're looking at here, the big ticket things I'm going to talk about in detail, are a refresh of software update and looking at a hybrid client monitor. Now, Josh, when I say hybrid client monitor, what do I mean? What do I mean by hybrid?
We could make it like a web component, so it could be used in anywhere, and then that same view or look or function could be in Central without building out a new application to do the same thing. Yes, maybe.
That's exactly right. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. We're going to talk about both software update and this hybrid client monitor. And I'm super excited about both of these. First, Derek said earlier he's been here forever. I've been here forever minus a couple of years. So forever minus 2 is how long I've been at FileWave. And I will say that the very first thing that I talked to the VP of engineering about at the time when I joined the company was, man, we got to fix software updates. And man, we're finally getting around to it, right? So in the first of multiple phases for software update, this is not real, what you see on the right. This is a design mock-up, but very probably we're going to be promoting software update to the big leagues. It's going to be important enough to actually be in the left-hand navigation within our tool set. It already is within Anywhere, but it is not in FileWave Central. So we're going to move it there so you can get to it easier, right? And then what else are we going to change in this first iteration of kind of making this better? The first thing, big deal to me, is try to make it more efficient than it is today. If you think about, hey, that new group of patches comes out every month, and every month I've got to go through and create 12 different file sets, and every one of those file sets I need to highlight the thing and click create file set, and then wait for it to download, and go to the next one and click create file set, and the next one create file set, and the next one create file set. So in this example, right, what we're going to be doing is allowing bulk creation of software updates, where you can just check on several of them and go ahead and click create, and we'll do them all in one fell swoop to make that more efficient. And we're also going to add to this the ability to choose where those software update file sets go. So right now, it either goes to the place that you started the assistant from if you're in a file set group, or it will go to root. Now you'll be able to say, hey, when I create these, I want to go ahead and put them in my beta or patch testers group. File set group, and that will allow you more easily to go through your normal workflow of assigning those patches on a month-to-month basis and testing that out. We're also going to work on kind of the third piece of this for software update in this first phase is to look at improving the software update reporting to basically make the device the winner. Whatever the device tells us is what we're going to say is missing or installed on the device. So there's right now, when you look at any device, it shows all patches for all time, and some of the ones that are that have been superseded will still show as missing because they were needed at one point but not needed now. So we're going to clean all that up so that when you look at any individual device, you're going to be seeing, you know, exactly what the device says is still missing, and just get a lot better reporting on that. And as I say, this is phase one. There's a lot of additional things that we want to do with software update as well, but that's it at the moment. And next topic on the is hybrid client monitor. So as Josh mentioned before, when we say hybrid, super excited about this change, and I think you will be too. The first thing we're talking about is a hybrid solution. So you know we have our FileWave Central tool that's kind of the classic tool built in Qt, and then we've got our web tool that's React, and the two never meet. Well, that's changing. So we're done trying to design things two times. We can't build everything twice. So what we're looking at doing is using our web technologies and including them in our native application. So when we're talking about Client Monitor, this is a revamp of Client Monitor, but it will be using the same system components in both Central and Anywhere. Right? So it's going to be in both, but the same bit of code makes us more efficient and makes the experience the same between the two products. But we're also making Client Monitor better. And hopefully this is going to make everybody happy, but you're going to be able to reach a device anywhere. Client Monitor will work through NATs. So the connections are actually established by the client, not by the server, which means that your admin doesn't need to be able to reach to that device. The device reaches to the server, and you'll be able to use Client Monitor for any device anywhere. It's also going to include improved security, and I should probably say greatly improved security, because the clients themselves will no longer listen on port 20,010 because we were leveraging NATs. Those devices talk to us, we will not be talking to them. So the legacy kind of Client Monitor tool of talking to the device to be able to make a config change outside of the FileWave admin will no longer be used. So that will be deprecated. It will still work for older clients, but there will be no more client password for these. And the management of device configuration and such will eventually move into FileWave policies, but will work the same in Client Monitor as it does today. But the security will be based on who you're logged into FileWave as, no longer based on that password. So that password totally goes away. We've also simplified the UI. This is, again, a mock-up that you're seeing at the left, not the actual UI, but it's going to be something like this. And you'll notice that there are no more ports listed because that just created infinite confusion and usually led to configuration problems. So the ports are not available here. They won't be shown, but we've also expanded the list of logs. So today, Client Monitor can only get the client log for the FileWave client log, but we're expanding them with a list similar to what you see here, where you can get the FileWave client log, you can get the kiosk log, you can get the upgrade client log that we use on the Windows side, system log on the Mac side. So you're going to be able to grab more log files. This will eventually, not in this release, but eventually be configurable so you can add additional log file collection into your environment. So if you have a specific log for a custom application that you use, you'll be able to do that too. So we're super excited about this change because this tool is used so much by admins on a day-to-day basis. We're looking forward especially to being able to see the configuration of that device that only checks in from home and only between 11 p.m. and 12 at night, right? So you'll be able to see those devices and actually manage them as well. So we're super excited about this change, and that again will be coming in 15.6. Put in your suggestions in the suggestion portal if you like, because this is all in planning now. All right, where does that leave us, Josh? Wow, we about ate up our whole hour.
We did about 4 minutes, but I think the list of questions, I think we can knock through that in 4 minutes. And if anybody wants to stay a couple of minutes extra, you can. But there's really just these questions, and there's 2 on the next slide.
And I will say again, if you don't get a chance to ask your question today, do show up to the PO Lounge Discord event tomorrow, because there'll be more than enough time to ask any questions you like. Yes,
and if you've never used Discord, try and get in there today, just to make sure that you kind of have that figured out, because it's tough when you try and learn a new thing and you try and get in right when it starts. But it's always open. Discord's open 24/7, so you can get in there anytime that works for you. Making DDM updates more robust. And for a few of these would be things where normally PN, who had to drop off, would be the person, but he gave us some notes to go by on these. So he said that, right now we try and do things kind of right away. But there is this possibility to set like a future date in DDM for things. So updates could be set for next Tuesday or something. And that is something that they're looking at. And basically, as more and more things get added to DDM, we can look at how to take advantage of those things. The profile editor, supporting things like profile manifests. This would be really great to submit to product board or to chat about further in that Discord chat. In PN's notes, he said it was an interesting idea. I like it too, because then you can take advantage of that profile manifest project. If you don't know what that is, if you've ever used the iMazing profile editor, it pulls from the profile manifest project. And so you can find settings for all sorts of applications. In fact, I use that editor to find ways to customize apps and then make the profile in FileWave. So that is something to be looked at. There was a question about macOS devices assigned in the FileWave client that there wasn't really context on that. So I was wondering if that was, if the question was, how do they know to go to the server, or how do they end up in a group? It seemed like a more open question, so I don't really have a good answer. Or I'd have to give a lot of answers to cover all the possibilities. So
well, maybe, I think though, that you can build the custom client, right, on custom.filewave.com, and then that PKG that you build for macOS devices is then assigned through your DEP settings on the server. But if the question was deeper than that, we weren't sure what it was.
And then about Classroom coming to anywhere, that's more, are there roadmap plans for that? I didn't recall.
The short answer to that is no.
Okay.
At least in the short term, no. We're not looking at adding Classroom into anywhere. But it's an interesting question. We're letting nature push what we're adding into anywhere. So if you've got a good case study for why that's important in your environment, please do let us know in product board. And on the comment about using FTP to import student photos, there's no requirement for using FTP. We just provide web links to the images. So I'm not sure to what system you're getting those, but we don't provide that system. So that's going to be outside of FileWave.
Yeah, so whatever web server where you have the images, maybe FTP is how you picked to upload them, but if it supports other things, then you can do that. And then how do Apple updates work with the new update? That would be a longish answer, but in the knowledge base, if you look for the word evolution of software update, PN, I think it was, wrote up a little history of software update, where it's been and where it's going, and it's a great explanation. So take a look at kb.filewave.com and type like evolution of FileWave updates or of software updates, and you'll definitely see it. And yes, and plan date to completely convert deployments from associations. Tony.
Yeah, there's no planned date for that right now. It's definitely something we want to do because deployments are better than associations, but there's a couple of things that we want to tidy up with deployments before we talk about deprecation of associations. But definitely try them. If you've not worked with deployments, the ability to do exclusions and deployments is super helpful. And eventually we will deprecate associations and move fully to deployments. We just haven't picked a date for it yet.
Yeah, and when we do pick that, we'll start to put it in the, like when we announce a new version, we'll mention that it's deprecated with a planned date of whatever, so that you know you'll get advance notice of the plans to remove it. This one, professional services or professional training does FileWave offer. So we do have FileWave Certified Admin. There's a certification. Again, if you look in the knowledge base and you type FileWave Certified Administrator, you'll see it there. Or if you speak with Scott's team, Customer Success, they'll connect you with information. So we have one certification. We're actually looking at maybe making some more simplified certification. So right now, the Certified Administrator kind of covers everything in the product, from Android to iOS to Windows. And we're looking at maybe breaking it up and saying that you're a FileWave Certified Administrator for Apple and just covering the Apple platforms. Because we know some people, they don't manage everything. But right now it's a good program. You'll learn a lot. And the program includes 3 hours of one-on-one time with someone in my team. So there is some training that occurs real time and a lot of it online. There's homework that gets graded. There's an exam. If you were to fail the exam, we go over with you what you got wrong so we can help you to understand, so that the goal is to pass and to understand why you would have failed. So it's a good program. Reach out to us. We do also do any kind of training. So if you just want to get general training, we can work something out. Just reach out to Scott's team as the best contact, and then they might loop me in. So. And then the last one was about applying a filter while searching for winget file sets, for example, search by package identifier. So that feels very product boardy, or so you might use product board or that Discord chat to talk through that further. Definitely good to submit feedback. And this request of that it should be prefixed with winget, I think that's probably because you also see Microsoft Store items in the list. Probably. So, that could be a good thing to talk about. And the last bit about auto.
It's a good suggestion. Like if you just want to look in your file set list and see things that are winget based, of course it should have that. So I saw that when I was like, oh, duh. I could add a V8, on that. Yeah. We should have done that already. But again, like Josh said, it's a great thing to add into product board. So let's make sure that it's documented, that we won't miss it. And you may have noticed we really would like you all to show up to the Discord events where we talk about product in more depth. So again, that's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. CET.
And the ETA on Auto PKG is we talked about that earlier, so that is coming. What was that, October-ish, September, October-ish, 15.5. So that was all the questions that were pre-sent to us. And it's really great to send those in advance and as much detail as possible when you give the question, so that we really do answer it completely. And I guess we'll just look at chat. I know we're kind of at the end of the time, so just skim the chat really quick and leave these QR codes up in case anyone needs it. It looks like John Kane has answered a couple of things about automatic scripts running at macOS boot or login through FileWave. I'll have to think about that. You can set login items. The login item would run on login. Have to think more about that. And I'll check out that outset. But I don't have a good answer right now.
Well, and it's a good point on the dark mode for Grafana. I don't know if there is one, but I'll do a little looking into that and see. I highly recommend, if you've not done anything with Grafana yet, building the dashboards is actually dead simple now that you can just reference a a report directly. It makes it really easy to do. And once you learn to do it, I think you won't stop doing it, because getting that aggregated data out of the system is just superb for visual representation of things that are going on in your environment. Highly recommend you spend some time there. And again, some of the content packs are great examples to get you going with that.
And PM says that Grafana does have a dark mode. So it would mostly be about anywhere, I guess, getting a dark mode, since Grafana has one. So
it's Central. Central is not the normal dashboard, and Central is not dark mode. I guess I hadn't even looked.
Oh, that one does. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that one's going to go away. It should have gone away a long time ago, and only our lassitude has prevented that from happening. But Grafana is the dashboard that you referenced from anywhere is what we're talking about, not the one in Central.
So then good. Then I know we ran a few minutes over, and we're going to post this to YouTube. And thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously, thank you everyone for showing up today. We super enjoy doing these events, and we're so glad you came. Thanks so much.